Welcome to Town Talk. Today's guest is Michael Munson. Michael, so great for you to join us today. I think everyone is very excited.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I usually work on the other side of the camera, so this is a stretch for me.
Yeah, we're really excited. I think everyone here feels the excitement for this moment. So Mike, tell us about your role here at the city, and then if you were to write a book about what it was like for you to start here, where would you start?
Well, I'm the operations manager for KTOP, responsible for productions and legislative coverages. So that's my role. We do like 54 meetings a month. You do the math, there's not 54 days.
Right.
So it's really far and few between that we get to do the kind of work that we're doing now. But this is like what we feel like we do all of those meetings so that we can do these things.
Right.
And it started at the beginning. I mean, I started here as a high school junior at like 16. I literally grew up in the city of Oakland. So it's been, 30 plus years. And I think my biggest takeaway is the thing that you learn working for a municipal organization, as long as I have, is that you're always a public servant.
Right.
We don't have as much of a, public facing, like where we're interacting as much with the public, but having been here so long and worked with so many different departments, producing videos for their operations, you kind of get to know some of what they do and how they do it. And so when the public can't find, you come down here, everything's not very evident. And you just are always like, I know I've been here so long, I know where everything is and who to talk to, who's going to actually help you and who's not. And so I kind of just try to steer people in the right direction.
Yeah. So you've been here, so you know the city really, really well from the inside out. You've seen a lot of people come through here. When you first started here at 16, what did it feel like to start working here?
When we first started, we were standing on cameras at the Garden Center because it was right after the earthquake, so City Hall was closed. So you kind of got to hear more stuff, with the politicians and the administration than you probably should have. And so it was kind of, it was like nighttime soap opera. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe that kind of stuff actually went on. And then I realized it wasn't very different from anything else. It's just people were dressed up in suits and high heels and, but it was just like every other interaction I had to that point with, people in the neighborhoods or, whatever it was. So it's not different. It's just the uniforms are different.
And so since you've been behind the camera for so many years, this is probably the first time you've been in front of the camera, or one of the...
I think on KTOP, yeah. It might be the first time that I'm participating in this way. I mean, I've been a SAG actor. I've been in films and stuff, and but this is the first time, I think that I've actually participated in something that's going to play on our air.
Yeah. Do you ever aspire to make your own videos?
I think the stories that we tell at KTOP all are a part of the stories that I want to tell. I never aspired to tell like a particular story that I haven't told in one way or another through some programming that we've done. I never wanted to make a film or anything like that. I like the kind of work that we get to do. There's a community approach to a lot of the projects that we do, or a city-based approach where we're trying to, like, let people know who come to the city or who work with the city that, there's people that are behind everything that, that you do receive from the city. And while, from the outside, it doesn't always look like it's working. I know that on the inside, people are working really hard. There's just not enough of us. Right. And so, the services don't always translate, and people don't always understand what government actually does for them. And so some of it is to demystify what government actually does for you, what your electeds actually do for you, versus what you may think they're doing or supposed to do. So, sometimes people just don't really understand what government role is in serving them, and they conflate. Like, and make it, it's, none of this is my responsibility. It's all on you, the elected. No, well, they only do 1, 2, 3 things. Right. And the rest of it is they answer your call, but they can't really provide a specific service.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mike. We're going to take a quick break, and shortly we'll be right back to talk with Mr. Munson. And we're back. We're having a conversation today with Mr. Michael Munson. Well, Mike, you were just sharing with us about your experience working here for so many years. I wanted to ask you, when you started working here at 16, what was the city of Oakland like at the time? And what were your peers up to while you were here?
My peers, we weren't doing municipal work for sure. My peers were in high school, and many of them, the jobs that you have in high school, Burger King. So Oakland was, this is like the end of the Lionel Wilson era and the beginning of the Elihu Harris, Henry Gardner era. And so Oakland was like rediscovering itself, after the earthquake and the hill fires. So it was right around there is when I started at the city. And, there was a lot of hope where, it was, in 5 years, the city's going to be, we were always like the little brother, little sister to San Francisco. And that was kind of like the foundation pieces to, what we have now, like Uptown and, those areas being developed. And that's where all of that started. So that's kind of where the city was. They were wrapping up their, 20-year plan or something like that and starting another one. And that's kind of where the city was.
And so since you've sort of had a front seat to like how all these meetings with different politicians and policymakers have made decisions for the city over the years, like, you're pretty well informed about what's going on. Were there ever any moments where you felt like KTOP or the city could be doing more to inform the public about what's happening?
I've always felt like the city could definitely explain themselves better. And, we've tried to take on some of that, but it's really hard to get departments to express their shortcomings and, how to fill in those gaps. And so, it took a really long time, because I think early on, under different management, there was a reluctance to, kind of bleed into the areas of how things are functioning. And, so some of our programming guidelines, suggest we shouldn't be disparaging of whatever it is. And so, we had to find different ways to convince departments to kind of own some of their shortcomings while, expanding on like, hey, this is what we really do well, and this is how you can work with us. And some departments were easier to work with, like Parks and Rec, because, they're working with kids and, you're not getting as much backlash. But, depending on, whatever relationships I've been able to create, then I can kind of get in there and be like, hey, look, my job isn't to slam you. I'm not like the media. We want to prop up your good stories. And, in the like as we're doing that, we'll own some of the things that, the public, has to say about the service you're providing or whatever. And, you kind of have to own some of it in order to sell them a new thing. And so, I feel like in the last few years, we've really kind of like convinced departments to play with us more. And, we've done that by kind of the information that we do present that's not, the public meetings or whatever. And trying to give people a voice to, promote their good work.
So, Mike, has the change in technology changed the way that you do your work here at KTOP?
The change in technology, it hasn't changed how we do our work. What has changed, the biggest change is with the influx of all of the apps and different means that, people get their entertainment, technology, information, is that cable, which is, cable subscriptions is what funds this operation. And so, less people having cable means less people funding our operation. And so the apps, like it's not a part of, even though they use the same infrastructure to get to your house, cable's the only one that has to pay for it. So that's the difference, is that there's less money for us to do. And we share money with the other two PEG stations. So it's, less money for all three stations to provide the same level of service.
Wow. And the level of service that you all provide is still 54 meetings a month, plus the content that you create, which you can't change.
No, I mean, it's kind of where we're required to do that part of it. So it's a struggle.
I do have a few more questions about what your day in the life is like, but we were going to take a quick little break here. And when we come back, we'll hear more from Mike Munson.
Did you know that KTOP streams live online? That's right, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visit our live stream today at oaklandca.gov/oakmeeting. KTOP, your government access TV station.
Welcome back to Town Talk. We're having a conversation here with Michael Munson, Operations Manager at KTOP. So, Mike, I'm really curious, what is a day in the life like for operating a TV station for the city of Oakland?
Depends on what day of the week it is. So certain days of the week, our legislative calendar is heavier than others. Mondays, we can have up to 6 meetings in the evening. Tuesday, if it's a council day, we know we're going to be in that council meeting for likely 10 hours. Wednesdays, there's planning commission, there's public ethics, so it just depends on which day of the week is. Monday and Thursday, we've got the largest collection of meetings on those days. So there's up to 6 on one of the 4 Mondays, and there's up to 5 on one of the 4 Thursdays. And so, depending on which Monday or Thursday it is, though, and then, if it's a council week, then those weeks tend to be longer than others. So meetings like the police commission can go 5-6 hours. And they don't start till 5-6 in the afternoon. So, the day can really, most people have a job where they know they get off at 5 o'clock.
Right.
Our job, you don't know what time you're getting off. You know what time you start, but you don't know what time you're getting off, because if 10 o'clock rolls around and I'm supposed to get off at 10, but the meeting's still happening, I don't get to leave. So I'm here until they bang the gavel.
Wow.
And some days, That could be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, how many people are sort of in that meeting from the TV station?
So again, it depends on which day of the week it is, but like for council, we've got three dedicated, and then a fourth person that comes in and breaks people for a couple hours so they can have dinner or whatever it is. So it just depends on which legislative sessions it is that night. And for the most part, I have a day shift and a night shift. And if it's one of those late nights, the night shift is just going to be there until it's over. And
you can do this with 7 people? Is that 7 people? Are those the 7 people who are doing this on a rotational basis?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes. And so, like people see me because I'm visible, but there's like other people that are doing, the heavy lifting. And they're the ones who, like bleary-eyed, and you might not know that that's what they were doing. And, they work the night shift, and so you don't see them all the time.
And you all play such an important role in that sense of keeping the public informed about what's happening in these meetings. You do it through the cable channel, but you also broadcast this on the internet now, right? And that's been ongoing for how long?
We've been on live stream probably 7, 8 years now. Maybe a little bit longer than that, but it's been a while. And with the price of cable, it's easier for people who can't afford to pay for cable, because cable's ridiculously expensive. But the apps don't carry us, and the streaming services don't carry us. So, we use the city's website to push content.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Were there any moments in this job that has surprised you or shaped you significantly?
When KTOP first moved into because when we first started out, we were housed under the libraries. And so we had, maybe 4 to 6 years of a management structure that was not in the building. And they weren't, we've never had like TV people. So, but when they moved our management downtown, it was like every other budget we would get moved to a new department. And so for many years we was bouncing around the city. Somebody else had a new plan of where KTOP was going to live every new budget cycle. And then we finally, we ended up in the clerk's office. In 94, when City Hall reopened, we moved into the clerk's office. And then our manager was Cedar Floyd. She was the city clerk. And I think the thing that I took away from, because this is now the first time that we're all in City Hall. And the thing I took away from that was, you can't let the city's bureaucracy live rent-free in your head. Like when you leave, you got to leave that, because it'll weigh you down. And so, for a number of years, that's how I felt. Like I need to fully disconnect when I leave this place. Years later, when I became management, I realized that isn't really possible. You know what I mean? When you got a night shift of people, I'm on until they're off. Even if I'm not there, I feel like I'm on until they're off. Ben will tell you how many times I've called, during a meeting and be like, hey, fix that, or what are you doing? And I know they hate it. But, I also know how hard it is to maintain focus for 6-7 hours. And there's a lot to do, and there's not a lot of us to do it. So I think the biggest takeaway is that, public service never ends.
Yeah. Yeah. Kudos to you, and kudos to your amazing team for how dedicated
most definitely.
you are.
Because it is not a one-man show. I mean, people know who I am, and they may not know all of the team, but I am by far the least talented of the team. Like they tease me, I'm like the idea guy, right? But they actually execute the plans. And that, this set, like I came up with the idea, but they executed like building this entire set from hand. And it's the creative part of the job that, is the awesome part. We bread or butter our bread with the legislative coverages. And I tell them, like, we got to do that so that we can do this. And these are the kind of things that we like to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. One more question for you is, in your journey here, did you ever have any mentors? Was there anybody you really appreciated who helped you along the way?
Tons. I think the first person that really struck me in the city was Henry Gardner. I've always admired his long-term thinking. He's implementing something today. When I first came down here, him and Elihu Harris, and this will tell you about the clock of municipal government. This is like early 90s, and they rezoned what's now Uptown so that it could be the buildings that you see today and the nightclubs and the restaurants that you see today. All of that was done back in the late 80s, early 90s. Wow. And it took 20 something years for it to actually be here, right? But they did that. Jerry Brown took credit for it because it was in the book, right? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say, 10K downtown or whatever it was. But that was already like in the plan, and all he did was look to see, okay, what are we finishing next year? Okay, I'm gonna say I did that. And, people's short-term memory and, want instant gratification, you blame who's in office now, but it takes a long time for things that you do municipally to actually become a reality. And so Henry Gardner was one of the first people. Over the years, like I said, we've had tons of management, but even the staff that I work with, we've all been together for 20 plus years. And so we lean on each other just as much. Like, I wasn't always their boss. And so, Shamari has, kind of coached me on like being less street, and presenting myself in more of a manager way. Same thing with Meadow and G. Like, they always have like straightened me out. And so more the community of people that we're a family, like that, we all have grown up here together. Right. When we all came together, like none of us had kids. And, my kid is grown now. So she grew up here. And, so it's been a number of people. LaTonda Simmons, city administrator, deputy assistant city administrator. So she, she helped me develop a structure. Right. That, because we had so many different managers and different, managements of our organization. She helped me build a structure that, we could follow, because I never had any structure. And, I think I learned a lot when Ashley James was here about production and how to do productions in a film style. And so, like, you learn from just about everybody that you interact with. I learned a lot from Sanjeev Honda. And, you know, like, he used to come to council meetings and be at every other meeting, too. So, over the years, you pick up a little bit from here and a little bit from there. But, like, the team has always kept me in line. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
This place raised me.
Yeah. Precisely why I'm so happy that you were my guest today on Town Talk, because this
Thanks
is
for having me.
absolutely the town's spirit that we want to embody. Thank you so much for joining us today for Town Talk. That concludes our episode. We'll see you again next time.